Yes, guys, welcome to Chasing Green Arrows. We are back. This is FPL Insight. I'm Gianni, the FPL guy, and I'm joined by Transfer Insider, Mr. Dean Jones. Dean, how are you, mate?
I'm okay, mate. Yeah, a bit hot and bothered, but yeah, I'm good. I really do like hot weather, like far more than I like cold weather. But there's just something about the hot weather when you're like at home working. It's muggy. The kids get annoyed and restless and screamy. I don't know. It's just not the same, is it? It's not the same as when I was in California and it was this temperature. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, well, we don't have houses built for it, so we don't have aircon for a start, which doesn't help.
Yeah, I know a couple of
you would
people
in
actually that have
America.
moved into houses recently and have had aircon installed straight away. And I think this might be a good
Baller.
investment going forward. Yeah.
Like that. Guys,
Yeah.
coming up in today's show, it's a good one. You've seen in the thumbnail, we're going to be doing a Threemium draft, and we know what Threemium means, and we know what 3 players we're referring to there, but also we've got some proper good transfer chat. You know, this isn't just a show for FPL. This is the show for speaking football, and in the summer, what more do we want to speak about than transfers? And Dean's got some awesome transfer tips coming up. Guys, if you're new around here, give us a like and a subscribe. Loads of you watched the show a couple of days ago, so I'm sure we've got like loads of new subscribers in. So if you're watching for the second time, hello to you all. You'll soon realise this is a show about you guys. This is a show for you guys. So get your questions in, because throughout the hour we're answering your questions. Edward is in. Edward, I don't think I've seen you around here. A few questions, your thoughts on Dubravka, Pope in the number 1 slot. Yeah, there's Nick Pope hasn't gone to Newcastle to sit on the bench. He's been given assurances and he'll absolutely be number 1. Dubravka, I don't know if he'll be happy sitting on the bench because he's a very good keeper. Difficult matches, Conte will go without Perisic because of Salah. Okay. Again, I think Perisic will start in all the big games. Dean, what's your take on Perisic? Will Conte sometimes go without him in difficult matches? I mean, I find that one... there isn't a problem with his pace or his energy. I mean, he's got the fitness of a peak 27-year-old.
Yeah, he's a starter. He's a starter. He's been brought in to be a big part of that team. So yeah, I don't know that in difficult matches Conte will go without him. I understand what you're saying, and that maybe defensively he's got flaws, but he's a smart player. He's a smart player, and I think that he'll be savvy. And he'll get savvy to the Premier League, and I think that Tottenham will prepare for those games in a different way and make sure that they are well covered. I mean, look, what they're going to do? Play Ryan Sessegnon there? Like he could get rinsed too. Like It's the same dilemma.
Love that, Frode. Thank you. Yeah, all Italy shirts today, and you probably guessed why or see my comment in the chat. But it's a year to the day till that historic moment at Wembley, when Italy beat England in their own backyard to lift the Euro 2020 trophy. So, of course, the Italy shirts had to come out.
Half-time was great at that day. That's the closest I've ever known what it feels like to win the World Cup. We're in the concourse, and like it was.
Did you go to the final? Did you?
Yeah, I was at the final. Yeah. So
I knew you were at the semi. I wasn't sure if you went. You went to the semi too, didn't you?
Yeah, I went to 3 or 4. Yeah. So the Wembley all the way through, basically. Yeah, Germany, Denmark, and then Italy.
Oh, wow.
So it was good, but I wish I'd gone home at half time.
Yeah, I didn't want to go to the final. I was like, I want to watch this game with commentary, because it obviously being Italian in an English stadium, I was like, I want to watch this in silence.
Oh, mate, yeah, you would have enjoyed it.
Yeah, I went to the semi-final and was able to live that up, and was like, that was brilliant. Let's end on a high, because England fans, like, I'll be scared about wearing an Italy shirt. As even celebrating in my local town, I didn't want to wear the Italy shirt.
No, totally. Yeah, that's what it was like. It was a bit silly, some of the stuff that was going on, but as you say, you knew what was coming.
Yeah,
always be that element. But yeah, congrats, mate. Enjoy your anniversary.
Thank you. And look, it's been nice. I haven't seen a chat full of, you're not going to the World Cup though. So thank you guys for not even giving me that jive. And thank you, Dean, for the same. Paul, good question from Paul. Sterling, Son, Jensen, forwards of Kane, Tony, Jesus. So you're playing a 4-3-3. I like the formation, firstly. Sterling's a strange one. Like, I don't know what to make of him at Chelsea yet. Do we think he'll be a better or a worse FPL asset, Dean? That's like the $1 million question. It's hard to tell.
It's hard to tell, because the way that he scored his goals for City were, we knew the trademark Man City goal, and he knew the time and the place he had to arrive at the far post to get a lot of his goals. It was all set up in such a measured way that Raz knew how to get his goals. He will score for sure, but I'm not sure he's going to be better in terms of output than he actually was at Man City. I think it's going to take him a little time to bed in. So I'll be a bit cautious on that, and I'll be cautious on Kane too. I don't think I'd have him in my team.
Yeah, I'm gonna. It's a wait and see for me. But hey, it's a nice little differential you've got there, Paul.
It is. I mean, it's Harry Kane. Like, it's not going to be a bad pick if you're just sticking with him for the season. It's just, yeah. Also.
Yeah. I'd find the 0.5 for Son if you can. Guys, do give us a like. Loads of you are watching that haven't given us the thumbs up. So if you can, that'd be awesome. The reason I'm pushing for likes is the more people that see the channel, the bigger community we can build, right? Which is more conversations for you in the chat. I don't know how YouTube algorithms work, but apparently things like comments and likes really do matter. So thank you for that, team. Look, we've got the best feature of the night coming up. We're talking transfers. We're talking football. Sure, this links to FPL later down the line, but more importantly, what clubs are in for which player is pretty big right now. Transfer market's hotting up. It's time to move on to Transfernomics.
This is it. The time when the Nouse comes in. Thanks to Tiffany saying I look boiling, by the way. The reason I'm even hotter than I usually would be in this weather is because I've just literally been with my kids trying to get them inside, and the energy that took, you would not believe, basically. So, yeah, got a sweat on just before coming on YouTube, which is not ideal. Anyway, Nathan Ake to Chelsea is a transfer that is very, very likely to happen and is hot, in my opinion. Not just because it is very likely to happen, but because I actually believe that this is a good signing for Chelsea. I've seen a lot of Chelsea fans not being particularly impressed by the fact that they're bringing Ake back to Stamford Bridge from Man City. But, you know, I also see the same group of people complaining about the fact that they're going after targets that don't necessarily want to play for Chelsea. And like you know, Rafinha, oh, well, I will come to Chelsea, but only if Barcelona falls through. Or, you know, De Ligt, oh, I will come, but only if Bayern Munich don't want me. Well, Nathan Ake really wants to come, and he's really up for it, and he's up for the challenge, and he's a really good player. Tuchel wants him too, and I think you should absolutely embrace this guy. I think he's a really good player. No, he's not the first choice pick of centre-backs from across Europe that you'd go for. Of course he's not, but he's not going to be the last centre-back that comes into Chelsea. This is about, you know, filling the depth. And, you know, they've lost a lot of players in defence since the end of last season. And so they need to fill the well. And Nathan Ake is one of the guys that's going in there. At 5 million, yeah, I mean, he's okay for as an asset, I think. There'll be times, obviously, if we see that he's a consistent starter for Chelsea, could be that he's in there for the clean sheets. I mean, as a Chelsea fan, how are you feeling about this?
Yeah, I mean, if we play a back five, it's very well. There's been a lot of talk about Chelsea moving to a back four. This transfer makes me think that Tuchel's still set on the five if he can get the centre-backs in. Because Ake's perfect to play in a back five. He did it a lot at Bournemouth. He's comfortable on both feet. I like Ake, and at 5 million, it's a very cheap route to the Chelsea defence. Sure, you can get Mendy for 5 million, but in terms of potentially a guaranteed starter at Chelsea, if he comes, I think with the centre-back crisis they've got, if we're playing a back five or three, Ake is going to be starting most weeks. So 5 is a nice price point. And he also, despite not being the tallest, is always been quite dangerous at set pieces, and that's what you look for centre-backs that can get their head on corners, and he's got a really good jump on him. So yeah, definitely one to monitor, and I don't hate it. I mean, sure, Chelsea fans would prefer a De Ligt or a Jules Koundé,
but they'll get one of those. We
need 2 or 3, don't we? So yeah,
that's
Ake,
it. So that's to come. Yeah, exactly that. So yeah, I think it's a good sign.
Yeah, no, I like it. FPL River, I have no problem with Ake coming back. FPL River is a Chelsea fan. Yeah, we do need centre-backs because Thiago Silva is brilliant but cannot play twice a week, every week. And look, the fixture congestion this season, guys, for those teams in Europe, you're literally playing every midweek. Let's move on to this one. This one's exciting. What's your take with Antony? I mean, no, Ten Hag obviously really rates him. He knows him so well.
Well, that's it. Yeah, obviously he knows him, and he needs some players in the squad he actually knows and he trusts, and they trust him, and you want to get that vibe going throughout the squad. So Antony to Man United is a transfer that United is still working on, and I've gone down for a medium level of source because not only is it still in the balance as to whether he actually joins, hard to know how he adapts to the Premier League and how long it takes him to make an impact. I mean, United, they're obviously looking at that right side, and they're also looking at probably centre forward now as two spots that they're still unsure about. You'd imagine Jadon Sancho is going to get games, but you're not sure about whether Ronaldo's going to be there. You're not sure what's going on with Rashford or Elanga. And Antony, this could happen. I mean, this is the guy I speak to keep me updated on this transfer. Keep saying like Ten Hag would only be pursuing this player if he had an indication from Ajax or the player or both that it was actually feasible. And I think the same applies to Lisandro Martinez. I think both those guys are still in the run-in to join Man United. I think both want to join Man United. And I think that as an FPL asset, Antony is going to be a really, really interesting one if he does actually arrive. I mean, he will add undeniably a new edge to that attack. There'll be better output. There'll be better deliveries for whoever's in the middle. There'll be a new dynamism to that front three. Ten Hag will know how to use him. I think he would be really good. I'd love to see this, and I hope it happens reasonably soon, to be honest, so that he gets a run up towards the start of the season.
Yeah, because of course the season starts in like 3.5 weeks, so 5th of August this year. Remember seeing earlier that United had an open training session with Ten Hag, and it looked like a 4-2-3-1 was being set up. In sort of this 11 he had training. Rashford scored a header in training, and everyone in the community was like, "Oh, Rashford's only 6.5. He's playing on the left of a front three. He had Martial as the 9. He had Sancho on the right. If Antony comes in, Rashford, surely that affects his minutes, because you'd think Sancho is more likely to be a Ten Hag player maybe, but they don't necessarily need a wide forward because you've got Martial still in the squad, but they need quality.
Yeah, I mean, with Rashford, there's always the potential that he ends up playing through the middle. Like all the times that Martial's played centre forward for Man United, I don't think he's convinced many people that he's going to be like the full package. And
True.
I've said before that if Rashford can get some confidence in pre-season, and Ronaldo doesn't start the season for United, I think it might be an option that Rashford actually plays as the 9. So that's something to consider. But yeah,
amazing
Man United,
for FPL, 6.5 midfielder. That is one to watch out on. If Rashford does become a starter.
That's it. I was saying to you yesterday, like, everyone's picking their teams and stuff at the moment. And I think some people are even like, I think I'm actually getting towards what my final team will be like. And like, guys, you're nowhere near, because there are so many teams yet to put the final pieces of their puzzles together. And there are some massive holes, particularly at Man United, where you've got centre-back, centre midfield, centre forward, right or left-sided forward. Like, there's 4 big pieces missing there. You look over at Chelsea and they've got a wide forward missing, potentially a centre forward missing, maybe a centre midfielder, at least 1, maybe 2 centre backs, maybe a right back. Then you look over at Newcastle, they need a centre forward. They're looking at getting a wide forward. Both of those are going to be big names too. Like, I think that some of us will be, looking at Newcastle by the end of the transfer window, being like, oh, they've just signed Moussa Diaby or Calvert-Lewin, and like, oh, this is a headache. They've come in at good value. Like, maybe I need them. So there's still going to be some transfers that throw up some real conundrums, and Antony actually might be one of them. I mean, you've gone for 8.5 there. I think it's probably fair. Might even be 8. But yeah, I think that's totally fair.
Yeah. Frode has asked a good question about Eriksen. If Eriksen was on the source meter right now, where would you put him?
Yeah, I mean, the transfer, I'd say, is hot. I think he'll join Man United. In terms of how he's going to fit, difficult to know. I'm not entirely sure if there's a specific use that they've got in mind, or if it's that he could be used in all sorts of ways. He could be used, you could use him deeper, or you could use him in a more forward midfield positions. If they're playing a 3 and a 1 and up top, maybe he could compete with Bruno Fernandes even for that central role. We've seen him play on the right before, and he could provide assists from out there. He could play in the 2. So I think there are various roles that Christian Eriksen could play. And also, of course, there's the fact that he's got a lot of experience. And Man United lost a lot of experience already since the end of last season. There's barely anyone left in this squad who is above the age of 29. Like, if Ronaldo goes, there's literally hardly anyone left. I think there'll be like Phil Jones. I can't actually think of anyone else like that. United don't have any like experienced, been there, done it, got the T-shirt players. So Christian Eriksen will be one of those more senior players that United actually do need, and that's one of the things they are thinking about right now.
Interesting to see how he slots in. Let's move on to the next one. This is a guy that hasn't done it in the Premier League, but so if his FPL numbers from Lyon had come through, would have been amazing. If his FPL numbers from Barcelona at times had come through, this is a guy of real quality, and how he is still potentially up for grabs to a club like Arsenal. Like he's got potential to be an elite player. This guy, right, Dean? If he's in the right club at the right time.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, I've gone with a mild rating here, and I think that's one because I'm not convinced that this is. I mean, the rumours out there, I'm not convinced it's any more than agents at work right now, linking in with Arsenal, linking in with Tottenham. Are they just trying to raise some cash for Barcelona? That's my cynical reading into this, is that at a time when Barcelona are trying to raise funds for...
They've got a ton of forwards as well.
Yeah, Rafinha and Dembele's new contract and Lewandowski and, this whole overhaul that they're having. Memphis hasn't settled in great at Barcelona, they could do without him, basically. So I think that they're looking for a home for him. And you always want to get a bite from the Premier League because it brings in other interest from elsewhere. So, yeah, like FPL River says, Memphis is talented, but so frustrated and can't see it happening. I can't see it happening either. But if clubs like are offered a player like Memphis Depay, it becomes tempting. Like,
I'd take him at Chelsea.
Would
honestly,
you?
Yeah, I'd take him, and I'd play number 9. Like what we saw at Lyon was this guy can play up top by himself, and Chelsea have let Lukaku go. Havertz isn't going to play 60 games as your number 9.
No.
Nice, different option to Havertz as well with his pace.
That's a fair point. Yeah, that's a fair point. So I can see why he's being pushed around, but from an FPL point of view, like, it would be great to have Memphis as an option, wouldn't it too? I'd rather he actually joined someone else who wasn't Arsenal or Tottenham, where he wasn't particularly guaranteed a specific role. I wanted to see him go somewhere. Like, what if Wolves sign him? Like, Wolves have done nothing so far. Like, to me, like, Wolves are starting to look like relegation candidates, like the way that last season ended and the way the summer's gone so far. Like, it's really not looking good. Like, what if Wolves were to get hold of Memphis and be like, right, let's find a job for you in this team? I want to see him go somewhere like just below that top tier, just because it'd be such a fun option. I don't think he will, but it would be fun.
He does feel like the sort of player that might thrive in the big fish, small pond environment as he did at Lyon. Guys, we've got loads of questions coming in and about other players, and a couple from Serie A. Osimhen and Dybala to come to the Prem. Like, Dybala is up for grabs. We know the money he wants. Juve didn't want to stretch to 300k a week. He's got demands, and there's not too many clubs that seem massively interested at that level. So is there a Premier League suitor? And Osimhen's not coming to the Prem because I don't think anyone wants to spend 70 million plus, which is what Napoli paid, right?
Napoli absolutely don't want to lose him. Like,
so
Napoli
good.
Just don't. Yeah, they don't want to lose him. So I can't see Osimhen coming in this window. I think Man United did inquire. Man United also, of course, have made aware of the fact Dybala is available. I don't personally think that if Ronaldo leaves, Dybala is a good replacement. Personally, I don't see that as an avenue they should go down. I think it be a bit of a disaster, to be honest. Like, I like Dybala. I love him. Like, I think, if you use him properly, if he's got the right partners around him, he'll be great. But I don't think Man United have got the right people to have around him.
Absolutely not. They really haven't. And also, like, United might look at it and go, oh, Dybala can play number 9. And he can sort of do that role. But again, he'd much rather play up top with someone. And I don't know who that partner at United would be if it weren't Ronaldo.
I don't either. Exactly that. John says, any truth in Doherty leaving Spurs? No, I mean, I'd be very, very surprised if Doherty left Spurs. I mean, he's a really senior player within that squad, and I think one of the important things about him is not necessarily, what we see of him within a 90 minutes, but deeper lying than that. He's very close with the likes of Harry Kane. He's a player that works very hard in training. He's a really good professional, and he's a decent player. Like, he's decent, he's versatile, and he's worth having around the squad. So I did actually check this out yesterday because it's been doing the rounds that Doherty could go, and those in the know at Spurs seem to think it's highly unlikely that Doherty would go.
What about Emerson Royale? Because if they do sign Jed Spence, does that just leave him with 3 right backs and they're all
I
and
presume
happy
Emerson
enough?
Royale would go if anyone. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
me
it would be
too.
him. Yeah,
Because
yeah,
I mean, Doherty had such a good end to the season. Like
yeah.
before, I think he got injured with a couple of games to go, but he was on a really good, rich vein of form. And I actually think from FPL, John, I actually think I might start the season with Doherty, and the reason being is if Jed Spence has been signed, even let's say Jed Spence gets signed tomorrow, which isn't happening, but it's say in a couple of weeks, whatever. There's no way he's going to be ready for game week 1. Conte needs some time on the grass with him. So I'm thinking Doherty might come out that team come game week 4 or 5 when a Spence or an Emerson Royale gets some minutes and maybe Doherty becomes the number 1 anyway. But regardless of that, I'm like, the first few weeks, he's guaranteed. I'm sure he's going to start if he's fit. So 5 million gets attacking so good attacking. I think I'm going to be going there and saving the 2 million on Robertson. I'm thinking Robbo out, Doherty and save the 2 million, similar sort of returns.
Yeah, totally.
Good question from FPL River. I want to know what your take is on this. I mean, you mentioned him earlier with Barca. We know that's the big name being linked. Is there any truth in Chelsea potentially going there? They need a striker for a short-term fix with Lukaku out. And
they've tried for him before, and he's semi-available right now. I think he's mainly available because he likes the idea of playing for Barcelona, though.
Yeah.
Bayern obviously been trying to build bridges since the public fallout over his contract and stuff. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I haven't seen the links especially today, but Lewandowski's been linked to Chelsea for a long time, and people that Chelsea's one of the clubs I'm probably closest to covering, and people have always say to me like, "Oh, look out for Lewandowski if he becomes available," and Chelsea need a 9. Like they'll always be in for him, and you've only really got to look back through history at this type of. Whenever there's a 9 available and Chelsea haven't especially got one, they always ask the question of, they'll try pretty much anyone. Like most of them fail, but they'll pretty much try anyone. Going back to Torres,
the curse of the number 9 shirt at Chelsea, honestly,
exactly that.
Shever at the end.
I don't think Lewandowski wants to come to England, to be honest.
He nearly went Blackburn back in the day, didn't he?
He did nearly go Blackburn famously, but I don't think he wants to come to England. I think he would have come before now if that was going to happen. But it wouldn't surprise me if they give it a crack.
Quick one here on Jude Bellingham. We'll get to as many questions as we can. Remember, guys, we're going to have a dedicated question section at the end of the show. Still get them in, though, because we'll come back to them, or we'll try and answer a few quick-fire ones now. Jude Bellingham, it's inevitable he will come to the Premier League at some point. Don't know when. When he does, Dean, are we thinking City or Liverpool?
I think it's more out of Liverpool and Chelsea, to be honest. I don't think Man City are likely to be in the conversation unless something happens.
I've not heard that linked massively.
Rodri and Calvin Phillips. So. Yeah. So I think it's more a Liverpool-Chelsea conversation. Chelsea have had him and Declan Rice kind of side by side, like which one is more likely. I mean, now Frankie de Jong suddenly in that conversation too, and not sure where that leaves Declan Rice if they were to, I don't think he will, but if they did sign Frankie de Jong, like that'd be a bit of a disaster for Declan. But I think it'll be one to watch out for eventually for sure. I think it'll be next year that Jude Bellingham comes in.
Yeah. FPL River, I like this a lot, and maybe Dean can make some inquiries at Newcastle and let you know in the next show. But Memphis to Newcastle actually sounds appropriate because the money, his wages are huge, his demands are there. He could be the big fish in a very big pond, but
it could be. I mean, I think he's the type of player they're trying to avoid. If I'm totally honest, I think that
just come in for those payday and
exactly that. Like they've been so careful about their transfer strategy. They've been making sure they don't overpay for people. They've been making sure that they go for players that are not quite at the profile. I think when they were linked with pretty much like Harry Kane and Neymar and Mbappe, they were linked to all these people like in the first couple of weeks of their takeover, and they've ended up with Dan Burn, and they're looking to sign players now that are smarter. They're doing actually smart recruitment, and you only had to look at Kieran Trippier and these types of players that came in, and Bruno Guimaraes. They were a nice fit. So as I said before, Moussa Diaby, Calvert-Lewin, they're the sorts of players that they're looking at. I don't see them going for Memphis.
Yeah, it's a bit Football Manager, but I like it. FPL River.
It is a bit Football Manager. Yeah, I definitely do it on Football Manager.
Gianni, you think Sterling will start 9. Yeah, a lot of spoken about this. I'm confident Sterling's been brought to play on the left and is what is his best position. I don't think Sterling particularly likes playing as the 9. I know Pep's played him there a bit. So I'd be surprised. It's easy to look at it and go, Chelsea don't have the obvious 9. Will he go there at times? I think Werner is more likely to play number 9 than Sterling. Offer a similar sort of skill, yeah.
But yeah, it definitely makes more sense.
Havertz is. Don't forget at the same time, Sean, like this isn't an out of position Havertz. I think Havertz has never really had a concrete position. At Leverkusen, he played 8, he played 10, he played 9, he played on the right. Under Frank, he played deep at times, like sort of number 8. But he's versatile enough. Look at Havertz in the last 12 months, and even with Germany, you go, he is actually a forward. He's probably his most comfortable position. So I think in Havertz, we have a very, very good number 9 in the making.
That's a very smart number 9 as well. And I think that's what's important in a Tuchel team, that you're on that wavelength and you know how to operate. Like he's quite delicate. He's quite, intricate in some of the things that he does. His movements are sharp.
Yeah.
I think that Havertz is a really nice fit for what Chelsea have been doing.
Yeah, me too. And I think he got goal of the season. If you haven't seen it, check his goal against Newcastle. The touch, the finish, the ball from Jorginho from 50 yards. Check that out online. When you've finished watching us, we'll be with you for another 30 minutes, guys. And look, 66 of you are watching. Thank you for joining. Give us a thumbs up if you can, and obviously subscribe if you're new around here. But we've done a bit of transfer chat, and no doubt we'll get back to a little bit towards the end of the show. But now we're back on FPL. We've made another draft. Dean and I have put our heads together for this. It's time to move on. And before we show you the draft, we're going to be looking at a couple of premium options in FPL tips and chips. Here we go. So those tips and chips come up in the form of a Threemium draft, as you've seen on the thumbnail. But first, we're going to look at some premium assets. Most teams can only have 2 of these guys, Dean. So I thought it was worth looking into some of their numbers since game week 11. And that's a really big point to this stat. This is from game week 11. The reason why it's from game week 11 is because Conte came to Spurs in game week 11. So how has Son and Kane been performing against some of the other big names in the league? And it's interesting because we see these numbers and go, why are we all ignoring Kane and Son again? Because Kane and Son under Conte are a completely different animal. So look, we can see the start. Salah did miss a few because of AFCON, KDB because of injury. But we look at the goal involvement, 25 goals and assists from Son. He's leading that by some distance on Salah, who comes last at 20. And then even the expected data, sure, Son's, we know, always overperforms. So that's quite normal to see Son at 17 and then get 25. Kane's still very high. And you look at that and think, Kane and Son, when you see the goal involvement of Son, the expected goal involvement of Kane, why are they in so few drafts, Dean?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think there's a few reasons. With Kane, it's always the fear of him having a slow start to the season, which we've seen historically to be true. But they have got a nice fixture to start the season, and there's no reason why history should continue. There's no reason why Kane cannot start the season with 2-3 goals. Son, I think, has probably... I think the outlook on Son has probably changed in the last 6 months. I think he was underrated for way too long, and I don't think that's the case anymore. I think he's finally got the respect he deserves, and I think by the time the first game week comes along, Son will be in a lot of lineups. I think probably more than Kane will be. It's De Bruyne is the one that I find interesting, because I think De Bruyne is the best footballer out of those 4. He's the best player. Yeah. And if I was to have any in a real team, I'd want De Bruyne out of those 4 players. But it comes to fantasy, and I was debating this the other day when I was flicking through and looking at different options of how my team could line up. And at no point did I look to get Kevin De Bruyne in my team. Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know what it is. I don't know whether it's because City rotate, or if it's because De Bruyne often does come good towards the back end of the season. Like that, if he does tend to hit form when City really, really need someone to step up. That's usually the time when he turns it on. But again, he's a great player, and his numbers there that you're showing are good, but maybe he's just a drop off from the others.
Yeah, the Mins, the goal threat for KDB is sometimes an issue. He's not even nailed to be on pens. If he had that penalty appeal every time, you might go there.
And
But
now he definitely hasn't. We
and,
assume.
and now he definitely doesn't. And you see the mins per attempt, like 28.4 KDB. Well, Salah gets an attempt every 19 minutes. Kane is interesting. He gets an attempt every 21 minutes compared to Son at 35. So whilst we see Son as the number 9 in that team and Kane a little bit deeper, and Son's been getting all massively overperformed Kane in terms of points. When you see the mins per attempt, you look at that and think, maybe we should consider Kane over Son at times because he gets an attempt every 21 minutes compared to Son, who only gets two pretty much 2 and a bit a game.
The thing with Kane is as soon as he gets sight of goal, he goes for it. You know,
Yeah.
he'll get a moment. It doesn't matter where he is, as long as he's within like 25, 30 yards. If Kane can get it out even a couple of inches outside and
so good
quickly try and get a shot away, he will do it. And a lot of those, I don't know if this is like shots on target, off target, or if it counts for shots blocked.
Yeah,
because shots blocked does happen a lot to Kane too. You know,
like he
get a lot deflected or blocked before they get to the goal, and that does happen quite a bit because of the angles that he hits them from.
Bernardo, I would prefer to go Son or Kane. We would love to put Haaland on these graphics, guys, but it was without playing in the Premier League for that Man City team. It's just pointless comparing. But FOMO's holding me back for now. My advice to you, Bernardo, and we all get it, is try and ignore the FOMO. If you think you want to go Son over Haaland, then do it. Like, we're going to show you a Threemium draft that has Son, Haaland, and Salah in like a couple of minutes, guys. So stay tuned for that. Denver only have Kane. Switch to Haaland game week 2. Yeah, a lot of doing that because Haaland's got Bournemouth game week 2. Kane's got Southampton game week 1. What I'd say about that is the booking in a transfer, and I know you've even caveated it there, Denver. You just don't know what might happen. There might be a price rise, right? They're both the same price. So you're going to have to leave 0.5 in the bank because there'll be a price rise after a day or two unless you make it straight away. But what if, and this is the scenario you want Harry Kane to go score a hat-trick on the opening day. If he does that, are you really going to sell him for Haaland if he's just gone and scored a hat-trick? So, yeah. And then what if you get an injury elsewhere? Someone else bangs and you want to bring them in? Booking in transfers is such a dangerous
I don't
game.
miss this. I don't miss this game. I'm kidding, I do.
We'll move on in just a sec. Penalty area touches is interesting because for those that are thinking about going without Salah, let's just have a look at the yellow, right? If you're in yellow, you're leading that stat. So sure, he didn't have the goal involvement, but he only had 20 starts, right? And he still got a goal involvement on average every game he played, every start he had, 20 on 20. The expected goal involvement, he actually underperformed. He actually should have done better in front of goal, which isn't like Salah. But the minutes per attempt, he's up there. He's the best. But the penalty area touches, wow, 345. This guy is so close to the opposition goal. He's a goal hanger. Yeah. And we love a greedy goal hanger.
He is a proper old school goal hanger, isn't he?
345 is madness. When you look at like someone like even Kane, he's getting more than double Kane's penalty area touches.
Yeah, which is mad. Like you think typically, I know Kane doesn't really play as a 9 or whatever, but he should be in that box all the time getting touches. And I guess it's the way that Salah's quite a niggly player, isn't he? And he's such a nuisance, and he loves to just, even if he can just edge himself into that penalty box, he knows that people might trip him, he might get a pen, he might get a handball, and Salah just loves creeping into the penalty box whenever he can, just to get those little touches away. I like this question actually, or this point really, just the dad posting stuff. I think Salah can do much better than he did last year, as can Kane. Son cannot. That is a good point. Like, how much better can Son get than where he was? Like, I'm not going to rule out that he can do that. Like, I think I've ruled out before Harry Kane being able to get better numbers, and he managed to do it. But for sure, Harry Kane can get better numbers than he did last season, and Salah probably can too. You know, so it'll be interesting. Obviously, we need to see the new dynamic at Liverpool and stuff like that. But that is a good point.
What I'd just like to think about, just to dad posting stuff, is we saw Son and Kane banging from game week 11 when Conte come. And remember, this is all from game week 11. We still haven't seen a Spurs team that's a Conte team with a pre-season, with transfers, and more importantly, with pre-season training. And this Spurs team next season could be considerably better than the Spurs team we saw last year. Yet Liverpool and Salah, they're probably going to be similar. We know what we get with them. They're elite, they're brilliant. But Spurs could go to a whole nother level. The training pictures from Seoul today, Spurs are in Korea. He is pushing them. We saw Son, after 2 hours of training, they were having to do these full-length sprints, and it was quite something. But that's Conte pre-season for you.
Yeah, exactly.
That'll be fit.
Yeah, 100%.
Let's move on to the Threemium draft. I know loads of you are here for it. I've seen loads in the chat saying they've done a Threemium draft today, and they're actually quite impressed with it. So let's take you through it. And what does a Threemium mean? It means you get Salah, Son, and Haaland. It's 3 premium attackers, right? So I've still gone for big at the back, and I've still gone fairly premium at the back. Like the 4.5 keeper, that 4 of my back 5 are in there. James, Trent, Cancelo, Perisic. All we're doing here is we're taking a Robbo out, or perhaps you've got a Chilwell or a Laporte, and you're putting in a 4.5 defender, of which Ben White is 1, but Lewis Dunk's 4.5. Johnny at Wolves is 4.5. There's some good 4.5 options. And then it means you can upgrade that 8 million midfielder that you might have to a Son, and it means that 8 million forward you might have in a Havertz or a Jesus has to come down to an Undav. Now, this requires an Undav to be starting football matches, and he's Brighton's summer signing. I think they actually bought him and loaned him back out a year ago. His goal-scoring record in Belgium was seriously good. Pinch of salt it was in Belgium. But if Undav is starting week in, week out for Brighton, he's 5.5, and you can get him in your 11, that might just allow for Son, because you've got to start Neto too. But I don't hate this draft at all, Dean. I'm actually looking at it thinking, I might shift some of the personnel. It might not be White. It might not be Undav. It might not be Neto. But I like the look of it.
Yeah, definitely. I just brought up my own team that I've been playing around with, because I was like, that looks better than my team. And apart from Undav, like it's actually almost identical to my team. But I mean, my midfielders I've got listed at the moment. I've got Salah, Saka, Foden, Neto, and Alanga as my midfield options, and then as my forwards at the moment in the first draft, I've got Haaland, Jesus, and Greenwood. But I look at that and I think, well, actually, I'd get probably more out of having Son in instead of Saka and Foden.
Yeah,
like those two combined, I'd probably rather have Son.
Yeah, you guaranteed points with Son. You know what you get.
Guaranteed points.
Yeah.
That is interesting. It's definitely one that's going to mess with people's minds, this one, mate.
Yeah, and it might be that you can't quite get to Son, but remember, Kane is 11.5. You could go Kane and Haaland up front, and then Son becomes a 5 or 6 million midfielder. This could be, instead of Undav, this could be Kane, and instead of Son, it could be 6 million Martinelli. That's not a bad one either. So, yeah, I mean, look, question about Meslier, and I think from all the 4.5s, just looking at fixtures, knowing we're probably wildcarding fairly early, I like Meslier's fixtures. Raya's an option. Gaeta might not be Palace's number 1. They bought Sam Johnson, remember? We don't know there. But you could consider Pickford. You could consider Sanchez at Brighton, who's probably my second favourite. Do Leeds concede tons of goals? Because I don't think they do under Jesse Marsh. And I know on the final day of the season, they conceded to Brentford, but before that, they conceded 1 to Brighton. They kept a clean sheet against Palace. They kept a clean sheet against Watford, both in April last year. I don't think this Leeds team with Jesse Marsh is going to concede tons of goals. So I don't mind Meslier at all. What's your take, Dean? It's not the Bielsa Leeds. It's completely different.
Yeah, it's different for sure. But I don't think they'll concede that many goals. No. I think Jesse Marsh is really smart. And I think that the way he'll set up, especially early on, like losing Rafinha is going to be a big blow in attack. So like the thing there, I think they'll be most concerned about is where are our goals coming from? Like it was a big problem last season anyway, with Bamford being out for so long. With Rafinha out of the equation, not knowing whether Bamford's going to be fit for however long, they're going to have to keep it tight, because the chances are that Leeds are going to be in very, very tight games. And it wouldn't take a lot for them to go. It kind of reminds me of how Burnley were under Sean Dyche. There was for a long time they were losing by very small margins, but they were losing, and it cost them. But I think that's the kind of cliff I see Leeds sitting on right now. Everything's going to be like a 1-goal margin. They're going to keep clean sheets, but they'll frustrate you and concede 1. That's how I see us looking at Leeds. Yeah.
Yeah, if it was easy to predict the 4.5 goalkeeper, there'd be a shoo-in and we'd all have them. I really don't think it is. As I mentioned, you've got Raya, Sanchez, Pickford, the Palace
Yeah, I've
keeper,
got
whoever
Pickford
that
at the
is.
moment, but yeah, who knows if I'll stick with that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a bit of you've probably just got to pick one and stick with it because you're not going to use
Basically, that's
transfers.
it. That was kind of my thought. I was like, well, Pickford had a really good end to the season. He's a great goalkeeper. There's a World Cup coming up. He's 4.5. He's going to have loads of shots at him that he'll save. He'll keep some clean sheets like throughout the course of the season. If I just stick with him and the backup goalkeeper, then I'll be good. So I probably, yeah, we'll see. But at the moment, I'm reasonably happy with that.
Nuclear's asked a question. What do you consider for game week 1 draft? Like, what are the big things? And my big tip there, Nuclear, and we ship it to Bangladesh, I'll let you know, is to buy my book. So check out this book, Fantasy Premier League, Unlocking Secrets to Top 1% Finish. All of my wealth of experience is in here. It's available on ebook on Amazon, or just Google it through my publisher, or check out my Twitter. But anyway,
I love the old school approach to FPL. I actually want a copy of it just to see like what was in your brain before it was messed up by the world of Twitter and like all these shows that you're on.
Honestly, it's complete. If I was writing it now, it'd be a very different book, but it's way better from written without all the outside influence.
Yeah, does a lot of it still stand up, like in your overall thinking?
I think it does. I often have to remind myself of how I manage and go, no, just read a few pages, and then you're like, yeah, that's how I used to manage, and you're a better manager because of it. Too much noise on Twitter isn't good for you.
I don't think it is. Yeah,
in many walks of life.
100%.
But yeah, Nuclear, I'd say just good players from good teams. Like if you look at this draft and most of the ones I put together, I concentrate on Spurs, Chelsea, Liverpool, City. And that sounds obvious, but you see so many teams that are full of your mid-table, your West Ham or your Newcastle, your Wolves players or whatever. And the core has to be from those that are going to get 3 points every week in terms of victories.
Yeah, that's a good tip. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, especially when the prices are so reachable for these players from good teams. Thoughts on Ramsdale? He's gone up to 5 million. The problem with Ramsdale is I hate a keeper who's more expensive than the defensive options. So I know if I want to get Arsenal clean sheet, I can have White or Tomiyasu at 4.5, or I can have Ramsdale at 5. That makes no sense. No. So when you're buying Sanchez or Meslier, you know their defenders are also 4.5. It's a bit of a debate. Do you go for the centre back or the goalkeeper? But with Arsenal, with Ramsdale being 5, it's just too much. Because if you want Arsenal clean sheets, which is all you're going to get from Ramsdale, you're not going to get goals or assists, you might as well buy Ben White.
Yeah, 100%. It's like for like almost, isn't it? I mean, I guess you don't get the odd bonus, but for the saves, but you can give that up over the course of a season. It's not going to add up to more than like 20 points or something. So not even that probably. So yeah, good tip.
Khalid, good stuff. White out, Nico Williams in, Meslier out, Mendy in. That's not a bad idea. I actually think I probably prefer that. And this was created before Williams was confirmed. Now we do have a 4.0. It does. Would you be comfortable, Dean, playing a 4.0 defender? I mean, we should forget the price. Would you be comfortable playing a Nottingham Forest defender week in, week out? Because I've got such a weak bench here. If I did what Khalid is saying, Nico Williams plays every week. He's in my 11 every week.
Yeah, well, actually, so on Ranks FC, the podcast that I'm on, we spoke about this today, and I didn't watch loads of Forest last season, but we were talking about it. And they were like, the thing is with Forest and Nico Williams, this is a really good fit for him because he will actually play wing back for Nottingham Forest.
Yeah.
At Fulham, if we'd assigned him, he would have played as a right back, and you wouldn't have got the best out of him because he'd have been defending a lot. But at Forest, he is going to have the capability to go forward a lot more. And that is honestly what he is good at. Like I watched him, the whole time he was at Fulham on loan, and it's so exciting when the ball breaks to him and he's just inside his own half, or he's just about to break over the halfway line. He just goes. He just goes. And all he wants to do is get down that channel and get the ball into the box. It's so good to watch. And I honestly think that he should be in everyone's teams at the start of the season. He will play. They've obviously gone and spent a lot of money on him, so he's going to be in the team. He's a very good player. Defensively, I have question marks about him, but it doesn't really matter. Like you're not signing this guy because of clean sheets. Like Nottingham Forest are not expecting to start the season keeping clean sheets, but you're in there because he's 4 million, and there will be a really good chance of him actually getting assist points. So keep an eye on him, see how things go in pre-season for sure. But yeah, I do have quite high expectations for that. £17 million is way overpriced. Like that's a lot of money for Forest to pay, but it's not our money. We shouldn't worry about that. Like, just enjoy him because he's going to be very entertaining.
Yeah, yeah. I think you might have convinced me there. I was already on the fence, and I'm looking at the 4.5 bracket. I'm not massively sold. I think there's good options, but I don't know if I'm going to get a big enough upside on my 4.5 asset to I am on my Williams at 4.0. One other thing about Williams, he's guaranteed to go up in value in the first couple of weeks because everyone that isn't engaged and they're not watching YouTube vids, they're not on Twitter, will go, there's a 4.0 defender who's starting.
Yeah,
I guarantee he'll go up in value because all the casuals will buy him after a couple of weeks.
And look, it is possible. Like, I think Forest have the potential to have a decent season and like not even really being a proper scrap. Like, they've got a really wise manager. They really came together last season.
Yeah.
And it could, look, you think back to like Lundstrom and how he was like the go-to bargain guy or whatever. He could genuinely end up being that sort of player if he fits well into this team. So let's see how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I'm sold. Let us know if you guys are bringing in Williams as well. Guys, it's that time in the show where we go back and get to as many questions as we can, but still get them in Time to Talk. I love that mellow music. This is chilled, but it's chill, but we're going to go.
It's like Ibiza at sunset.
Yeah, Cafe Mambo, here we come. As if, is Undav a nailed starter? No manager rotates more than Potter, and he's got Mopé, he's got Welbeck, he's got Undav, and he probably is only going to start one of them each week. Any thoughts on that? It's so tough.
No, I mean, this is honestly a watch and see situation, isn't it? Like, we're going to have to see how Brighton's pre-season goes. They're all obviously going to get a chance to win the role. It might be that he's given a little bit of time to like adjust to how the team plays and to watch from the side as to how he fits in. But he won't want that. He'll want to be straight in that team. No player wants to sit on the sidelines and watch a team come together without them in it. So he's going to be pressing to get in that team and to make a mark. And let's face it, if he can score goals in pre-season for Brighton, he'll be in that team because they're always short of goals. That is the one thing that they haven't been able to fix. Whoever they've brought in just hasn't been consistently scoring goals. So they just want someone who's confident. And if he can build that, like early doors, happy days, he'll be in there.
Yeah, he was actually bought 12 months ago, loaned back out to the club, and then went on this amazing goal scoring record. So they've got him for like 6 million, which was his price 12 months ago. His price now would be way more. Yeah. Love this nuclear. I'll answer this one and then we'll chat to Dean for the next question. Any chance the mythical FPL asset Nathan Ferguson returns? He left West Brom to join Palace a couple of years ago. He's had the worst luck with injuries. And he's actually a really good defender that can play across the back four. Nailed asset? Absolutely not. We won't get there till we see him have consistent Premier League starts. And I think he's probably still short of that. So, yeah, keep your eyes out, nuclear. But I don't think we're there yet. What do we think to Issa Diop to Fulham, Dean? I mean, West Ham have bought another centre-back, haven't they? So he's even further down the pecking order with Bonner coming back to fitness. There's Zuma there, the new French guy. Diop's got so much promise as well. Was former France under-21 captain, linked with United a few years ago. Fulham?
Yeah. Look, we need something because our defence is going to be absolute shambles on day one as it stands. We are not good enough to be playing in the Premier League with this defence. There's definitely something in it. Fulham definitely been at least inquiring over Issa Diop and trying to push it over the line as they have. It's been a frustrating summer so far for Fulham. They've been getting enough business done, but I'll be quite happy with it, to be honest. I think that he would definitely raise the level of our back line. I still wouldn't be putting him anywhere near my FPL team, though, because Fulham have got too much work to do. We forgot Liverpool first day.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, let's move on. Thank you, Nathan. Gravy Dave, is the new Brentford keeper going to be first choice? And then Tiffany also asking about Raya. We're settled on Raya with a new goalkeeper signing, a bit concerned. What's funny is Brentford's number 2 last season has actually got a Spanish cap. And Raya, who was Brentford's number 1, hasn't, but was clearly the far better goalkeeper. But with a new signing, where does that leave Raya? I mean, you wouldn't expect Brentford to be linked with keepers. Like, why are they shopping for another goalkeeper? Because Raya's so good.
This is my big Yeah, this is exactly what I'm trying to figure out. Like I'm wondering if Raya's leaving if this has happened.
Yeah. He was very good last year, wasn't he? Very
He was
good.
really good, and they missed him when he wasn't there. But that's not a reason to go and sign a player that this guy was going to be Man United's backup goalkeeper,
Yeah.
but he's deferred on that to go to Brentford. But he's not going to go to Brentford to be
To
their
be a
backup
backup.
goalkeeper if he could have done that job at Man United, is he?
Yeah.
So I just wonder if something's happened. I'll try and find out by Friday, and I'll speak to a guy that knows quite a bit about this, what goes on at Brentford, and I'll see if he reckons Raya's leaving.
Love that. Guys, stay tuned on Friday. Dean will have an update on that. Look at this. Not only can we answer your questions, we can also put in requests for Dean to get to the inside track on football clubs. I'm going to have to start thinking about some questions I've got for you, mate.
Questions for agents.
Paqueta to Newcastle. Right. Again, this is an interesting one, Mark. Paqueta, like, guys that aren't too familiar, was the new wonder kid. He burst onto the scene. Milan bought him. Had some great YouTube clips, but that was about it. Well, he's gone to France and been amazing. But it's a very different league. And you wonder, can he make that step up going to the Premier League and still be competitive? He's been linked with Newcastle quite a bit. Again, this sounds like a little bit like a Depay to Newcastle signing, a little bit Football Manager maybe. Is there any much talk about him coming to the Premier League and Arsenal, Newcastle? Could that happen?
There has been a fair bit. I mean, I'm very, very cautious about this transfer and about the idea of him coming to the Premier League because I don't think he's ready for it. I think he needs to go somewhere else first in Europe and then make the move after that. Yeah, so there's definitely been a lot. There's definitely a lot of talk about this, but I don't think it will happen.
Cool. Next up, thank you, Mark. Bernardo, Tielemans leaving Leicester. We speak about Tielemans every show, don't we? Are they going to get a replacement? Okay, so instead of talking Tielemans and future club, will Leicester replace him? Because they've got a DM that, I can't remember his name. I think it was Mendy, played in the AFCON for Senegal, got to the final, was one of their best players. It's like, oh, you've got this really good player at Leicester, Mendy, that never, ever plays, but was brilliant in AFCON.
Yeah, I mean, they will replace him. They will buy someone else. And I think I've said it on here before. The most interesting thing I find is that Brendan Rodgers is convinced he can replace him. And that's not usually the case. If a player like Tielemans leaving Leicester, if you think of like Riyad Mahrez or whatever, like you can't usually replace those players. But Brendan Rodgers is actually okay with the idea of Tielemans trying to fulfill his ambition by going to Arsenal or Tottenham. And finding somebody else. I think he's got a few smart ideas up his sleeve, Brendan. But we'll have to see what happens there.
Yeah. Watch this space is definitely going to be something. There'll be drama. Frode, who will be Newcastle's next manager? And if Eddie Howe doesn't get off to a good start, he'll be massively under pressure. Loads have been linked in the past. Mourinho's name's been thrown out there. What do you think, Dean? Who could be Newcastle's next manager if let's say Howe is sacked before Christmas?
I'm going to say, poor Eddie Howe. He ain't done anything wrong
I know,
yet.
he's done a great job.
He's doing a great job. I mean, it could literally be anyone, couldn't it? I mean, the sky's the limit for Newcastle in terms of their ambition. So I think that they would go for the best manager available whenever that time comes. I mean, let's be clear. Like, Eddie Howe is nowhere near losing his job at Newcastle. They've given him full backing. He's getting a say in transfers, which is key. A key sign that they trust him. They liked what he brought together. They trusted him on a couple of signings like Dan Burn, and they paid off. So Eddie Howe's not actually going anywhere. By the time Eddie Howe's gone, he'll probably be like 2 years away, and they'll probably get like Pep Guardiola or something.
Yeah. Love that. MX Bappe.
That's a bit of a bold one, but yeah.
Well, we're going Football Manager with Newcastle, so why the hell not? MX Bappe, thoughts on Trippier? I don't think Trippier will be the next Newcastle manager, maybe. I don't know. 5 million in FPL. I like 5 million as a price point for Trips because you got some goal threat, free kicks, you got the set pieces. The one thing I'd say about Trippier is the open play assist threat at Newcastle isn't brilliant. It was pretty good at Burnley back in the day. But yeah, Newcastle, they've got Botman now, Burn the back. They look like they'll keep some clean sheets. Nick Pope. So it could be good value.
That's a good point.
Sleeping on their defenders.
Yeah, when we first put Trippier into our team, it was just for the assists or whatever. But now you're actually looking at it thinking, hang on, this team can defend.
Decent, yeah.
This is a team that are knocking on the door for Europe next season. So Trippier, I've got him in my team at the moment. Let's see if I can manage to keep him in there.
Hold your nerve. Eddie, good to see you again. Frankie de Jong. This is going to rumble on and on. He clearly doesn't want to go United, but he might have to or might settle.
Why is it every Man United signing has to be this drawn out?
Do you remember Perisic back in the day? Every summer we had Perisic to United all the time.
It's always something. Even if it's when they get done, like Maguire or Jadon Sancho, it literally takes 2 years to happen. Like 2 years it takes them to sign players, and we have to hear about every single step along the way. Frankie, my gut instinct is that yes, this will eventually get done. There are many reasons for that. 1, Barcelona need money. 2, Man United need a centre midfielder. 3, United typically cave into financial demands and just pay it to keep face and get the player that they need, and also because they keep going through these transitions of the squad, and if this is the big need right now, then they'll just go for it. It would be pretty disastrous, I guess, to not get De Jong at this point, because I guess you could turn to like a Ruben Neves or Tielemans in there, but it's not the same. That's not the same as signing Frankie de Jong. This is a signing that United fans should be celebrating if it happened, and it'd be a real statement if it happened. I think it might even be that United end up paying his deferred wages on top of the transfer fee just to get it done. I can see something like that actually happening. And if that does happen, then it's United's fault, because Richard Arnold's already been caught on tape saying basically money is no object to us. We'll pay whatever it takes if the player's right. So that's their own fault.
Frode, I'll answer this one. James over Chilwell, tell me why. James is the better footballer. And that translates to FPL points in this scenario, because they're the same team and they're the same position, opposite sides. James shoots more than Chilwell. I think his assist threat's better than Chilwell's. He takes more set pieces than Chilwell. Oh, and he stays fit longer than Chilwell quite often. So, yeah. Yeah, true. Both sick note. But James for me. Although if you can get both, I don't mind both at all. Mohammed, seems like it's going to be really risky to have differentials. It does. When we put my team reveal, the differential team reveal up, Mohammed, you'll notice we had the ownership next to it. And we rarely start the season with more than one player over 50% owned. Usually that's Salah, and usually he's like 50, 51. I think that graphic said Salah 59, Haaland 65. Loads of the defenders were around 50 as well, like Perisic, Trent, Cancelo. There's the real template more than ever. But things will change. After a couple of weeks, people move, people get unsettled by a couple of blanks in a row and they get impatient. And that template will be broken, but it does feel like there's a very big template. And it is scary going without your 65 or your 59% owned players like your Salahs and your Haalands. I think you can go without 30 and 40% owned players and not be stung too bad. But when you go without a 65% player and they score a hat trick, like, you could be game over like after the first couple of weeks. So play safe. Guys, there's only 50 likes, but 110 of you are watching. Hundreds have been watching in the past. So please do give us thumbs up to guys. Like, if you like what you see, give us a like. And also, like, feel free to comment about like our balance of FPL and transfer talk. We're really keen for you guys to steer this show. So we want to know, like, if you want more FPL content, we can look at that. If you want more transfer talk, we can look at that. At the moment, we're about a 50-50 split for pre-season, which is quite nice and seems about right. But we're going to be here every Monday and Friday for you. So 7 p.m. UK time, Monday and Friday. Tune in. If you're new around here, we stream on those days. And when the season starts, we'll be doing the same. And those Friday streams around FPL deadlines, right? Whether they're on a Friday or Saturday morning deadline. So we're here to help you with your transfers each week.
Yeah. 100%.
Bench boost game week 1. No, don't do it. Save your chips. Save your chips for the double game week.
We don't know who's going to be playing game week 1. Don't risk it.
Yeah, there's always some surprises as well. You're like, he's injured. I didn't know that.
Exactly.
Yeah. FPL Bobbins, price points are pointless. Have you been following me on Twitter, FPL Bobbins? I posted this yesterday. It definitely rustled a few feathers. If you don't have 0.5, okay, they're only points if you don't have 0.5. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. Like, loads going, I need an £8 million midfielder. because there's so many of them. So if I want to jump off Foden to get on Mount, I can do. Problem there is Mount, if he's good and you want to jump on him, has probably gone up in value. So yeah, make sure you leave 0.5 in the bank if you're thinking about moving between price points. I probably won't leave any money in the bank, but again, I probably won't commit to a price point either, which I'm sort of married to. Gazza, I don't think we've seen you around here before. Thank you for joining us, Gazza. I hope you've hit that subscribe button. Can Walker cover City's defence? This one's for you, Dean. I mean, Cancelo offers so much upside, but Cancelo's 7, Laporte's like 6. Well, Walker starts most weeks and he's 5, but don't get goals.
He does start most weeks. I don't know how long that's going to... I presume we can be safe with him at the start of the season. We'll have to see as it wears on. I don't think it's a bad pick for the start of the season, to be totally honest. I'd be content with going that. The problem I would say is like there's no real reason to pick Kyle Walker. Like there are better options at that point. You don't need to be that desperate for a Man City defender that you need Kyle Walker in there. You don't have to cover Man City's defence. You can look elsewhere for that. Yeah,
Doherty's 5, Trippier's 5. I prefer both those guys to Walker.
Yeah.
Guys, that's been awesome. Thank you so much for watching. If you've just tuned in the last 5-10 minutes, do go back and rewind, because we have had in today's show a Threemium draft where we've had Son, we've had Haaland, we've had Salah, all in a draft that looks very good. We've compared the premium assets in the game, Son and Kane, to Salah and KDB from Conte's time, and Salah and his numbers are good, but Son's are better. And we had loads of FPL chat, but also we've had loads of transfer chat. Dean's done transfer ratings on some big names: Antony, Memphis, Depay, Ake. So yeah, it's been a fun-filled hour, and we're
building up. We're building up. We're nearly there. Less than a month ago.
Yeah, here we go. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you on Friday. Take care.